The unhinged where nothing is hidden. We talking so get in.
Listen.
The unhinged where nothing is hidden. We talking so get in.
Listen.
Mary, blah, blah.
Show.
Mary, blah, blah.
Show.
The unhinged where nothing is hidden. We talking so get in.
Listen.
The unhinged where nothing is hidden. We talking so get in.
Listen.
Mary, blah, blah.
Show.
Mary, blah, blah.
Show.
Welcome.
In 1988, President Ronald Reagan proclaimed October Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. Pregnancy and Infant Loss Remembrance Day is observed on October the 15th each year and includes the International Wave of Light. In the United States, 1 out of every 4 pregnancies ends in miscarriage, and 1 in every 160 pregnancies end in stillbirth. Welcome back to the Unhinged, a Mary Bly show, where we will explore the deepest recesses of joy, heartache, and all the moments in between. I'm your host, Mary Bly, and today we're navigating a profoundly sensitive topic that affects countless families, pregnancy and infant loss. Joining me for this important roundtable conversation are 2 remarkable guests, Heidi Brown and Hazel Flint Jones. Their journey through loss has inspired a community of support to find solace and shared strength amid grief. Without further ado, I present to you the first roundtable conversation. So before we get into this, let's begin by taking a moment to hear from each of you about what this topic means to you personally. And I'll start with Hazel.
Hi there. So in 2012, July 28th to be exact, my sweet little boy, Matthew Aaron, came silently into the world. I found out at 21 weeks that his heart had stopped. I didn't realize out there was a large community of families who had gone through what I'd gone through and experienced the same pain. And so it was a quest to find more information. With the help of my sweet sister, who sadly passed away in December of the same year, we found a very big infant loss community on Facebook. And there started this passion for wanting to make sure that families knew that they weren't alone, that they felt that there was somebody else out there to be a turning point, to be somebody who people could turn to and know that I'm not going to judge them on their loss, how their loss happened, that there's just somebody out there. And it's been a labor of love for 12 years. It's been heartbreaking at times. It has brought a lot of love and laughter and friendships that get you. You know, when somebody says to you who's been in our situation, they say, "How you doing?" And you reply with, "Today's a bad day." They get it. And sometimes that's all you want. You don't want special words. You don't want, solutions. You just want someone to get it. So that's what this means. It means being there, and the importance of this month, especially, it's where we get even louder than we normally are. And we're loud. Let's be honest, the baby loss community, we are loud. But this month, we just take that to the next level and we shout. We shout even louder because we've got to be heard. The subject is still such a taboo subject. It's still turned away. Doors are closed on us. And the importance of it for me is just we've got to be loud. And Matthew's got to be remembered. That's the way I feel. He has to be remembered.
Yes, thank you, Hazel. Now, Heidi, if you can tell me what this topic means to you personally.
Well, losing a baby is traumatic uh, and even the best of situations, with the fact that I had him. Uh, I was 21 weeks as well, and Lucas was brought to me against my will. I thought a photograph would have been fine, and then the nurses insisted I keep him for 2 days, and I watched him change, which messed me up. And I thought it was a complete lack of respect about how they treated babies and families right after they're born still. So I just advocate for like the change on how we treat families. Because this is a lifelong journey, and those nurses, they only see you for like a little bit of time. And I don't feel like that they're equipped after all the off, it's 2024, and they're still saying the same things that are not comforting. So I'm out for change.
Thank you both for sharing such an intimate part of your life. So we'll get into the questions. For Heidi, yeah, let's go with Heidi. How has your loss changed your perspective on everyday moments?
uh I'm extremely anxious and nervous. I'm the type of person that if the phone rings, I think somebody died. I'm always waiting for the other shoe to drop because it seems like it always will. I was under the impression that after 12 weeks that you were safe, your pregnancy was safe, as they're still saying it to this day. I hear it all the time. Well, after 12 weeks, we could tell people. I told people on Christmas, and he died 5 days later. So, um, oh, I'm just always waiting for something bad to happen. Like I almost feel like Winnie the Pooh that has like the cloud above him all the time, you know? It just follows me around. Even on a sunny day, there's a cloud. He's the first thing I think of in the morning and the last thing I think of when I go to bed. And then a lot of my dreams are about my son as well. It is a lifelong journey.
Hazel,
Same question.
same question. How has your loss changed your perspective on everyday moments?
Well, firstly, I want to say to Heidi, I am so sorry that your wishes when you had your son were just ignored. That to me is, I apologize if you hear the rumbles. We have storms. The fact that they treated you in such a heinous way is deplorable. And I am so sorry. And
Thank
that's part of the reason why I do what I do. I trained as a bereavement doula just for women like you, so that there is somebody there who's going to be like, no, 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 you're going to listen. So I just wanted to say that. In regards to the question, a bit like Heidi, my day is filled with what ifs and thoughts. There's that brief second in the morning where it's peaceful when I first wake up, and then it crashes in again. When I go and do things, it's like, obviously Matthew is a common name. So I hear people say Matthew, Matt, and all this lot. And it's like, I should have chose a better name because it hurts. I love hearing his name in reference to him, but it hurts when I hear his name in everyday life. My my life revolves around there's somebody missing. I'm a grandma now. I have a beautiful little grandson, and I'm thinking my 12-year-old son should be here, this summer at the swimming pool with his nephew. And we were at a Bucks game, and it's like my 12-year-old would be having a great time at the Bucks game. And it's painful. It hurts every single day. And as Heidi said, you're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. It's like when my son calls, it's always, is everything okay? Are you good? There's no, hi, how you doing? It's like you're instantly on defense mode all the time as to what the next thing is going to be. And
You can wake up so fresh and full of
yeah,
energy, and then you relive it all over again. You're like, oh yeah, someone's missing.
yes,
And even though my son would be 19, if I see a little brown-haired boy on the bus, I have to look at his face. I have to make sure that's not him.
yeah. And like I went Christmas shopping, and this was one of the first times, and I'll say thank God for Amazon, because when my eldest was younger, he was 12 when Matthew passed away. I was able to order stuff off of Amazon for Christmas shopping, so I didn't have to physically go to the store. But with my grandson, we went to Walmart to get him some Christmas presents, and I saw a little Star Wars figure of a little boy with a lightsaber and lost it. Because it's like, I should be buying that. And because of the representation, it's like a little boy with a lightsaber. We're a Star Wars family here, It's like, that would have been him playing with that. And there's all of those things that, I look at my grandson and I think, okay, what part of you is Matthew? I look at, as you say, when you're on the bus or you're just out in general, at kids' faces. Do I recognize that face? Is that face part of my family? And they're not. And then it just hurts. It's just so hard. And yeah, we put on a mask every single day. If we're working, you put on the mask of the smiles and how you doing? Yeah, everything's good, and everything's not good. I think the biggest lie we tell ourselves is everything's good. Yeah, we're fine. No, we're not, because if we told you our truth, we're going to upset your day too.
Right. Thank you both for that. My next question is going to be, are there words or sentiments that you found particularly comforting? Hazel?
There's a lot of stupid things out there that they say that are very hurtful. I know they don't mean to. I'm tired of the, pressuring me to adopt. That's like the number one. You can have more kids. No, I can't. I am past that age. I can't. There's just a lot of the same over and over. I just hear the same things over and over, and I try to just like let it go because they don't know any better. But why don't they know better? I'm upset. They should be upset. Why are you not upset? And every year when I was listening to Hazel, every year when school starts, I think, I wonder if the teachers are wondering who is missing. 25 students, who's missing? Do they even think things like that? That's what I think about. My child's missing from your classroom. Do you even know about him?
Hazel?
There are a lot of well-meaning words out there, as Heidi said. For me, the only thing that actually means something to me is when somebody just says, and it's a simple phrase, I'm sorry for your loss. I don't need it was God's will, it was God's plan, God never makes mistakes.
God needed your baby.
No, I needed my baby here with me.
Exactly. That's the number one that I can't stand is God needed your baby. No, he didn't.
And I know people are trying to come from a place of comfort, but for starters, you don't know what religion I am to even state that. You don't know my beliefs to even state that. And I know that those words they're saying is actually bringing them more comfort for them than it is for me. Because let's be honest, our grief makes people uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. But just sticking with the simple, I'm sorry for your loss. And the one that I know that people do say, and I have to mention it, and both of you, I'm sure, have heard it, is I haven't lost a child, but I've lost a pet, and that pet was like my child.
Yeah. I don't like when people call pets their babies.
It's
use a different word.
Yeah, it's a hard thing. But as I say, the most comforting words are, I'm so sorry for your loss. And with certain people, if they say here, I'm here for you. And that only works with certain people. And those are the people who've already, proven time and time again to show up for you. When they say I'm here for you, and damn well they mean it. But the rest of them, I know they come from a place of well-meaning, but to me, it's just stick with the I'm so sorry for your loss. And that will, in all of our cases, that will suffice.
Mm-hmm. A lot of times they count the years against you as well. Like, you should be over it.
Yeah.
Like, there's some kind of time limit. Like, oh, it's been 5 years. You should have moved on.
Yeah. That I've heard. Yeah. Plenty of times. That really pisses me off when they say something like that. I completely shut down. I don't know about you guys, but I completely my brain just shuts down and I don't hear anything anymore. So I don't know if that's the same for either one of you.
It is. For me, the relevance of anything else they say after that really doesn't hold any weight, because to me, you've just shown your true colors and your true self in completely invalidating the life of my child. And I don't care if I was pregnant for 5 weeks or if my child was 5 years old, 15 years old, 50 years old. That's my child.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to get over the loss. I don't care that it's been 12 years since Matthew's been gone. You're not going to tell me that those 12 years weren't the most painful 12 years of my life. No one can tell you that the loss of your daughter wasn't one of the most painful experiences of your life. And the same with Heidi, 19 years. I bet ask any of us, what were the smells like? What noises did you hear? All of those things. We've got instant recall on so many of those things. And if we don't, it's because we have shut it out, and bringing it up is just too much.
Right. This is I do have a disclaimer at the beginning of this because it is a very, trigger warning for some people. One of the questions I was going to ask, but you guys answered that already, and it bled into the other conversations. What do or don't you want people to say to you? And you offset that already. Let me ask you this, Heidi. What help did you receive from friends, family? Did you get therapy or anything like that? What was the help that you received?
So for the first 3 years, I walked around in a fog. I read a lot of books and I stayed in bed a lot. I didn't have a support system in place. I was in counseling, but it's different when they didn't lose a child. Don't confuse what you read with my experience. I would like to read the books they read, because they must be inaccurate, because they're just spewing out the same stuff that we're talking about, which is a lot of it's inappropriate. Now I do a lot for myself. The father was not a good person, so it took getting rid of that person to start really healing myself as a whole person, which was a lot of it was Lucas. So I had to get rid of his biological father, which I thought I had to keep the family together, which endangered my life. So I had to let that go. That's not part of my son or my story. That's different. That's the past. So I do a lot of journaling. I do a lot of art therapy. I help admin baby loss, bereavement groups, memorial clothing, memorial jewelry, planting flowers, decorating the grave. Also, I do doll therapy. I have a doll that looks like my son that we went on national television to discuss that, which we can discuss, at another time. But my arms aren't empty at the cemetery, which is a great help. Going to the cemetery is not beneficial to me, but I feel an obligation to keep up on his grave. I don't want him to be forgotten, but it's very painful to know that he's so far down and I have empty arms. So I bring my reborn doll with me to the cemetery. But I do as many as activities as possible. When I met my second husband, he knew about Lucas right away because we met in a journaling class. Everything was about Lucas. He was perfectly fine with that, and he's my rock. He helps clean the cemetery and he wipes my tears. So we consider him to be Lucas's real father. He acts like a real father. But I do a lot of journaling and art. Any baby loss gatherings like local functions, fundraisers. There's something called the Death Cafe, which is just a bunch of people that get together to talk about traditions. And also, if I may bring up just quickly, I did get in 2014, I did convince a hospital to get the very first cuddle cot in the United States, which is a cooling device. So it's a basket or bed with a cooling device to slow down the decomp of the body, to give the family the gift of time. So you can have your religious functions, you can have people from out of town, you have time with your baby, you can bathe them, you can dress them, you can photograph them. I know Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep is a great organization. I believe their cutoff for gestation is 25 weeks because of the mental toll it takes on the photographer. Now, if they're worried about the photographer's mental health, they need to be worried about the mother's mental health, because we want pictures of our child. And now you're saying that it's just not pretty. It's not something society would want to look at. I wanted my son's picture on his tombstone, and I was told, no, because of the weather, if it got broken, it would be hard to replace. I've seen pictures on tombstones that are from the 1800s in perfect condition. I am convinced that it was the state of decomp that he was in the photographs that would bother other people. Even though it would comfort me, it would bother other people to have his photograph out there. I'm extremely careful who I share his photograph with. I don't want to hurt anyone. I just want to, my son deserves to be respected. He was a person. He is a person, and he deserves to be memorialized and remembered and honored. And I was told no. Like, we had a graveside ceremony. I was convinced in the hospital when I left, because I knew he would fall apart eventually. It'd been a few days and he was changing. So I left. I was convinced I would see him at the funeral, but other people stepped in and thought they knew what was best for me. And I didn't press to see him because I didn't know what was right and wrong. They thought it was wrong. So I just went along with it, and I didn't say goodbye like I wanted to. I didn't give him his teddy bear like I wanted to. There are so many regrets I have after 19 years. I'm still regretting that he doesn't have his teddy bear in the ground with him. It breaks my heart. It killed me just to put it in the washing machine because my tears were on the bear. And other people's way of judging how I mourn my son, like I kept the remainder of his baptism water. And I was torn apart by another baby loss mom saying that was unhealthy. I needed counseling. I've been in biweekly counseling since before he was born, and I continued. I stayed with it. I have counseling on Monday, and I have the psychiatrist on Wednesday for antidepressants. There's no wrong way to grieve if you're not hurting yourself. If it's not drugs and alcohol and suicide and self-harm, do it. If you're being creative and healthy about it, do it. Don't worry about what other people are thinking. They didn't give birth to your child. You did. You do you.
Right. That's very emotional, Heidi. Hazel, what help did you receive from friends, family, Any therapy either? Or?
No therapy. We tried to reach out to get help, but everywhere who dealt with pregnancy and child loss were like, well, we've got a 6-month wait list. We've got an 8-month wait list. So it was like, yeah, that wasn't there. Family wise, yeah, that's all I can say. My family was great. I'll give them this. My family in England were great, but they were in England. So, there's only so much they can do from that distance. But, my mum would answer the phone no matter what time of day or night I called. My dad is this burly, rough, gruff guy. And him actually saying, I love you and I got you. I'm here for you. That's about as emotional as you're going to get from my dad. But those words from him told me that he was thinking of me. And when they came over the following year, because they weren't able to afford, sadly, to come over for Matthew's funeral, he got off the plane, he gave me a big hug, and he went, let's go see my little boy. And as I say, coming from my dad, that's a big thing, but the rest of the time we had a memorial service for him and a few family and that showed up. The funeral, we told people we don't want people there. I wanted my best friend there, who is Matthew's godmom, because she'd been there right from the get-go and was in, the hospital with me when I had him. My husband actually invited his mom, his sister, his brother, and his mom was the only one who showed up. So we really haven't had a lot of support. We became our own support. We had to find things that would work for us. And for us, one of the biggest things was, and it sounds really silly when I think about it, but bear with me. The Milwaukee Bucks is literally 3 miles from me. Mary knows this. Big Bucks fan here. They're the best. I'll get into an argument with anybody else over that another time. But they were having a team scrimmage. My husband wanted to go. My 12-year-old son wanted to go. And it was, what's that? Mom, you got to go. You got to go. Mom. Fine. I'll go. We get there. And I started shouting at the players and the coaches. And it was like, this feels good. And so I was shouting a bit louder and cheering and screaming and telling the referees they're blind, all of those things. And I left there and it was like, wow. I wouldn't say I felt like really, really better, but I felt lighter. Mm-hmm. And so we went to some actual games, and especially when you're playing your team's worst out, opponent, you can let it out. The words coming out of my mouth were colorful at times, and it helped. And it also helped our family because we were talking about something, it opened up the communications. And my eldest son, Robert, would be like, Mom, can you imagine if we brought Matthew? He'd have to have little headphones on and, we'd have to cover his ears because, Mom, your mouth isn't very nice when we're at Bucks games, And so sports became a big thing for us that helped us get out that emotion when you're feeling so pent up that you got to scream and shout. That's where I go to scream and shout. So, as much as I love the sports as well, that's the therapy side of it for me. But then also the other side is I can relate to what Heidi said. It's the creative side that comes from it. It's the resin work that I do. It's the making burial gowns. It's making the bassinets, doing the hats and everything, and blankets, and putting together events. Like, as I say, tomorrow I've got the walk to remember. And even though I'm not the main person behind the event, I work with them in like, okay, have you guys got the drinks sorted out? Let's get the drinks. Let's find sponsors for the drinks. Let's get the drinks. And they're like, okay, Hazel, yep, we know you're on that roll. And we've got the Wave of Light on Tuesday, which for me is a big thing. It's organizing the different buildings to change color and getting this event together for families. and being able to do all of that. And that was a huge help. But for me in the beginning, that wasn't enough. So it was like, okay, I don't like the families are going through what I did, what you have, what Heidi has. I'm going to train to be a bereavement doula. I'm going to do that. That's going to be my mission. And I trained to do that. And working with those families and being able to say, I got you. No, I'm going to get these questions answered for you. I know exactly what to answer, and they're going to give you the right answer. And if they're going to give you the wrong answer, I'm going to talk to them until they give you the right answer. Doing all of those sort of things, helping all of those families it doesn't bring a sense of relief, but it brings a little bit of comfort. And especially in everything I do, my son's name is on there. Maddie's memory is always on everything. If I do an event, it's like Maddie's memory. If I do a donation, it says this was donated by the volunteers of Maddie's memory. And then people know me now. Oh, you're Maddie's mom, right? I'm like, yes, I am. Yes, I am. And you both can appreciate when somebody says to you, oh, you're Maddie's mom. Or they mention your child's name and refer to you as their mom. Oh, it gets you right in the feels. Because for me, then acknowledging your part as a mother, which I know, we have so many people who say, well, I've had people say, well, it was not a real baby because you were so early in your pregnancy. It's like, tell me that again. Just seriously, tell me that again. So having somebody acknowledge you as being that person's mother is for me anyway, is such a huge thing. And I'm lucky in the sense that my husband is very open with how he feels and everything. And we did have a scare with him. I will admit we did have a scare with him where he did try to end his life after Matthew died. But we were able to get him some help and treatment that also helped some other undiagnosed mental health issues that he had and got him on a better track. And I said to him, you know what, you got to tell me when you're feeling this way as well. We got to work together or our marriage isn't going to last, and it breaks my heart when I see families, fall apart, not because they can't cope with the grief, because I know that is a hard part, but because it brings out some hostility of blaming and everything. And I see that a lot. And I think if we make it more normal, we need therapists who have gone through what we have. We need workers in the bereavement business in general who have gone through what we have. It's like both of you could be faced at the time of your loss, say with me, who's had a loss and a trained doula, and somebody who hasn't, who's a trained doula, and you're going to get two different services in regards to your loss. Whereas one's going to be book orientated and one's going to be from the know. And I think that it's so important. As Heidi said, there are some therapists out there who say, yes, I'm a bereavement therapist and I deal with grief. And it's like, can you explain where your knowledge come from? Well, I was at school. Now, what do you know personally?
Right.
Well, I haven't really experienced, and it's right there. I don't know about you guys. It's like, shut off. I'm done. Because you can tell me what the textbooks say. I know what the textbooks say. I've read them myself trying to find out my path in all of this.
Textbooks mean nothing to me.
Right.
Absolutely nothing.
Right. And that's the whole thing is that, they're like, well, I've done this from this book and I was taught by it. It's like, none of that means anything to me unless you tell me that you sat down with a bunch of bereaved parents who have told you and spoken at you, not just for 30 minutes, not just for an hour, but you've spoken with them long term and listened, not just sat there as a therapist, but you've listened. Your help as a therapist works for me if you've experienced the loss of a child.
Yeah.
And I don't mind when you've lost that child, but to know that pain of having to bury your child before you.
Yeah, I don't, I'm going to comment. if somebody, and it doesn't have to be about baby loss, it could be for those who don't know, and there are a lot of people that do know, I have a history. I have a story before Jolene. And if you've never been, a drug addict and you've never been in prison and you've never been held hostage and if you've never been uh, put to work, I don't want to hear anything you have to say about that specific topic. So when it comes to baby loss, I'm the same way. I don't want to hear your version of what you have to say because you have not experienced it. So you can't possibly know how I really feel if you've never been to it. So this is why I didn't go to counseling when they wanted me to go. I was like, no, because they're just going to tell you textbook. It's all textbook information. And that's what I don't want. I don't want that because you don't understand uh personally. You've not been through it. So yeah, I don't listen to I just don't want to hear it. But all right, so let's go on to Heidi. Can you please tell us what can people do to honor somebody's feelings during that difficult time, their difficult time? What can they do to honor someone's feelings?
Well,
If they're
I know something that seems so silly, and it it lit it takes less than a second to do. And I come up with this every year on my son's angelversary, which I call the day that he was born is his angelversary. And it's such a simple thing to do. And you don't have to have a baby loss to do it. When I announce that it's my son's birthday, like the status, acknowledge his existence just by hitting that button, because it breaks my heart that the people closest to me are not acknowledging him. I feel like I am not allowed to say his name. Is it because it hurts them? Are they confused? Do they not know what I want? I mean, I I put down his birthday. You could say happy birthday because when he was born, nobody said it. I watched the baby shows, and when the babies were born, all the nurses said happy birthday. Nobody said happy birthday. So as they lowered my son, men in dirty jumpsuits, lowered my baby's beautiful, pristine white casket into a dirty hole, I wanted to watch them put him in the ground. My mom and sister stayed with me, and I was bawling my eyes out. And I said, nobody said happy birthday. That's it. Just say happy birthday once a year. You don't have to have lost a child. Just 2 words. Those are some of the most important words you can say. It's just happy birthday. Why can't I just don't understand? I try to tell myself it hurts them to do that. But come on, it's just one click on social media, and it would mean the world to me to know he's not forgotten. And the other thing that really bothers me is when someone close to me names their child Lucas. There are billions of names. It's not that you're doing it to, because you don't want him forgotten. So we're going to name, like you name juniors, and,
Hmm.
it's no, they just name their baby. I know he's not going to be the only Lucas in the world, but I even had relatives that were born after him in December, and it upset me. I'm like, can't I just have 1 month? Can I just have one day? Just please, just one for me. All year I'm there for other people, and then that one moment I need someone, it's like there's just less and less support from the people that are closest to me. And I just I just get very confused. Why can't you just be nice and have empathy? You don't have to dwell on it all day. Just know, hey, you have a relative that passed away, and it's okay to talk about grandpa. We have tons of memories of grandpa. Beautiful,
Right.
it's okay to talk about our elders or other people who have passed that we have memories of. But when you don't have any memories, where do you go from there?
Right.
I have nothing. And you have the ability to add something to my life to help ease my pain, but I guess it's not important. I would be there regardless. Like, I knew a woman that had a stillborn baby. I didn't realize how common one was because I was young. I knew babies died, but I had never like known any, really close person that had one. And so when it happened to me, it was just so confusing. I was over 12 weeks. What happened? And now we know from the autopsy that he had strep B and a lung infection. Um, we know that now, but at the time I was like, but I'm over 12 weeks. I just, little things. You could just say happy birthday. Um, that's all I'm asking. I do like the fact that if I wear something that memorializes my son, I do get a lot of strangers that comment to me, I lost a child too. I have a tattoo of my son's footprints in his birthday, and I get a lot of comments on that. And strangers are treating me better than the closest people in my life. They're opening themselves up. They're becoming vulnerable. They're sharing their stories. Um, that's huge. And they thank me like for opening up. And I don't feel like I'm doing anything special. I'm just sharing my son with myself, but in the same time, I'm sharing him with the world. And it's coming back to me. Oh yeah, I lost a baby too. So I don't, I like that I can be an advocate. I just wish that I had more support other than the textbook people, just the same things all the time. Um, my husband is very understanding. He knows that I don't do real flowers because they die. I have a huge problem with flowers. Plastic flowers are fine. I don't care. I buy all the plastic flowers when we decorate his grave, but I won't do fresh flowers. And I guess a lot of people might not understand that, but they die, and I don't want to think about that. I want something to be as pretty as long as possible because this world is not pretty. So if you can make something a little bit easier on someone, wouldn't you?
Right. Thank you, Heidi. Hazel, what can people do to best honor someone's feelings during their difficult time?
I agree with what Heidi says. Acknowledge it, the birthday. Acknowledge that birthday as you would any living person. If I post up there, today is Matthew's, like when he's 13 in July, today is Matthew's 13th birthday, click the like. If I say, please light a candle and remember my son with me today, I don't believe there's a household in the USA that does not have a candle or something they can light. Take a photo of your nightlight, whatever, just show some support. I mean, and even to the point where if somebody says, well, you know what, we don't have candles, but I found a picture of a candle. You know what I mean? Something
Mhm.
that shows, okay, I'm with you. I'm there. And it's the other thing is watch your comments. Seriously, watch the comments. You don't need to, as we've said before, you don't need to go into this great spiel and write poetry and, a 15-page essay on how our loss makes you feel. Because let's be honest, I'm not here to make you comfortable in my grief. My grief is mine. If you feel uncomfortable with it, okay. I'm not gonna pat you on the back and make you feel better because I lost my child. I'm just asking for you for that moment in time to extend some damn gratitude, some sympathy, some love, some support. And as Heidi said, just by putting a like on a post, we've got even the option of changing a Facebook post from like to love to care. Pick one. Pick the sad one if that's how it feels, if it makes you feel sad that we're going through that. Just remember our child with us. That to me means everything. Don't tell me, well, it's been 12 years. Yeah. And it's going to be mentioned by me until they put me in the ground with my son. So get used to it. And the truth is that you do find out who your friends and family are when you bury a child, because it becomes very apparent very quickly who's there for you. But yeah, it really is a case of just do a small gesture means the biggest thing. We don't need this grand gesture of, say, flower deliveries and, balloons. We don't need all of that. We just need acknowledgement, and the sad thing is that people don't get that. They think that, okay, well, I don't know what to do, so I'm going to sit back and do nothing. When it is such an easy thing. It is as easy as liking a status, as, and I've got one friend who has never experienced loss. To their recollection, they don't know of anybody in their family who has experienced loss. And he came to me and he said, he went, I don't want to upset you, said, but I found a picture that I thought you might like. I'm like, okay. And it was a picture of a pink flower and a blue flower with a white ribbon. And he sent it to me privately, and he's like, I hope that didn't upset you. Well, yeah, it upset me, but not in the way he, not in the way he thought. It upset me in the sense like, oh my God, someone got it. Someone got it. I hadn't been speaking with them for a while because he'd had like some major, major health issues. And I'd been dealing with a lot of things as well. And we'd like said, you okay? Yeah, I'm good. Are you okay? Hanging in there. Okay, catch you next time. That was our chats for the longest while. He's actually my son's godfather. But then when he sent me that picture, I was so concerned when he's like, I don't want to upset you. And I'm thinking, oh no, what is it? Because it could be, I found this passage that I thought would, heal you on your job. That's what I was thinking, because his family is quite religious. I'm thinking like, oh no, here we go. And then it was this picture. And it was such a simple AI generated picture, but it was absolutely perfect. And meant more to me than, 1,000 flowers being delivered, or a sonnet written in my son's honor. It meant more than all of that. And I think people need to realize that those are the things that work. They help us. They bring us that comfort.
That's beautiful. All right. Is there a particular holiday or anniversary that you celebrate, Heidi?
I go to the cemetery about 3 times a year. I go out around this time of year, maybe like around Thanksgiving, before the snow comes, because I don't want to trip over headstones. We never know what the weather's going to be here up north. So we go and celebrate his birthday a little early by decorating and cleaning up and doing the gardening area. So we do celebrate that. I'll hold on to those photos until his birthday, and then I'll post them online. I also go out around Mother's Day because his due date was May 16th, which was right around Mother's Day. So I make sure I go out around Mother's Day, and then usually once in the summer just to like do maintenance. So that's not like an actual day we celebrate, but in a way we do. I mean, we're cleaning up, we're there. He's still there in a way. I mean, it's been 19 years and he was very little, but he's still there, you know. That day is still there. I relive that day over and over and over, especially in person. So I don't go very often, but we do celebrate that. And then having a memorial doll, I do celebrate holidays like Christmas. Like I boycotted Christmas trees for like 10 years. There's no baby under the tree, so I didn't see a point. then my nephew moved in with us, and he was a little kid. He wanted a Christmas tree. So we just kept the Christmas tree. And then I have that reborn doll. So he gets presents from Santa Claus, which may sound ludicrous, may sound absolutely ridiculous, may sound like a waste of money, but it makes me happy. I didn't get to buy him anything all these years. I didn't get to celebrate all these years. So having a memorial doll, I get to do those actions, those physical actions that I didn't get to do with my son, like milestones. He didn't get to meet those milestones. So I have a doll that helps me to meet those milestones and take photographs. I mean, he'll never get older. I won't have pictures of his first day of school or his graduate. He would have graduated last year. Don't have a photograph of that. But I do plan on getting my husband like a class ring with like Lucas's birthstone, and we'll have an inscription like the class rings when you graduate. I do want to get one. If he was here, he would have had one, so why not?
Right.
And people constantly are after me like, why, you're it's not healthy to be with this doll, and he's not real. I'm not under the delusion that he's real. No, he's filling my arms. He's helping my heart to heal, and he really does. I have a few close friends that accept him, and he is welcome at their house, and it means all the world to me. And he brings such joy. And I think if a memorial of my child can bring such joy, how much more could my living son have done? He would have been the light of so many people's eyes. Who knows who he might have been? We'll never know who he might have been. But it's just something to think about. And I do every day. I think about him. I've had about 3 dreams where I felt really, really close to him. And it was very eerie because I felt like he was really, really with me. And it got me through those really hard times. And I thought, why? I'm not there for him though. I mean, he doesn't need me, but what's it like to be needed? I will never know. Sorry.
Thank you. That's okay, Heidi. Hazel, is there a particular holiday or anniversary that you celebrate?
Obviously his birthday. I celebrate his due date, which is December 4th. And that's actually kind of bittersweet because myself and my sister were pregnant at exactly the same time. She was actually due November 26th, but she had my niece on my due date. And it was about 15 minutes before midnight on his due date. So we joke that Matthew was like pushing Ellie out and saying, okay, this day is going to be a good day. We're going to make it a good day still. So it's kind of it's bittersweet, especially as Ellie is 12. So I look at her and I see all the things that she's achieving. And it's like, it's a wonderful slap in the face, if that makes any sense whatsoever, because she's doing everything that my 12-year-old should be doing. And, but I actually combine my sister's death date with celebrating Matthew as well, because my sister then died 12 days after my niece was born. She had a torn aorta from delivery, and the hospital wouldn't listen to her when she said she had chest pains. They said it was just her body getting back to normal. So I lost her like right away. And she was my rock. She was the one who pushed me to do Maddie's memory and kept pushing me, saying, you got to do this. You got to do this. You're not going to be happy unless you do something. So I do carry that on for her as well. So I celebrate them both around in between that 12-day period of December 4th and December 16th. We always buy gifts for Matthew at Christmas. We've always bought our eldest son a gift from Matthew, and he's never questioned it. He's 24 now, and he still gets a gift from Matthew at Christmas. And he's like, yeah, because Matthew remembered. And then it's like, why can't you remember better gifts than like my brother can? Mom, it's like, who do you think is buying these gifts? You strange child. But, it's kind of a family thing. For my grandson for Christmas, he got a Christmas present from Matthew, from his uncle Matthew. But we still buy Matthew stuff. You know, as I say, we were at the Bucks game and they had, you know, the giant foam fingers that you have at games that they're like this big. They
Yeah.
had ones that were this big. They were miniature ones. And I'm like, oh, you know, we're getting that to go on his teddy bear because he's got a teddy bear in Bucks uniform. You know, that's Matthew's Bucks bear. So the Bucks bear has now got the foam finger on, you know, and I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that. I go to his grave on his birthday, tidy it up a little bit. But Matthew's in a mass grave because we weren't told we could have our own funeral. So he is in a mass grave. He's with 15 other babies.
Wow.
It's like the storm's like blowing stuff and I could hear it blowing. I'm like, what the heck is that? So he's in a mass grave with other babies. And that actually strangely brings me some comfort because I know he's not alone. But I also have the guilt he was only buried in a blanket. And we're getting into that time of year here. I can appreciate what you're saying, Heidi. I'm in Milwaukee. So we get the cold, snow, Canadian air, all that stuff. And there are times when I sit here and it's like, okay, this is going to be hard because we're getting our first snowfall. Is my baby warm? Is he okay? Is, you know, and I have that guilt. So we try to go out there round about Halloween time because Halloween is my favorite time of year. I love Halloween. Just to make you giggle, my husband was doing a podcast, his own one the other day, and he didn't realize I was behind him wearing the Michael Myers mask. I was there for a good like 2-3 minutes before he realized standing behind him wearing Michael Myers mask.
Oh no.
So Halloween is our like thing. So we'll go out there round about that time. We don't, out of respect for the other families whose babies are buried with him, we don't do the whole, you know, decorate the grave Halloween style, but we take out, you know, little snowmen ready for the Christmas time and perhaps a little Christmas tree, little ornaments that are seasonal appropriate, shall we say. Mother's Day, I do try to go out there as well, but I have difficulty in that because for me, it's a reminder that I feel like I failed my son. And I don't want to have to face his grave knowing that I have that feeling that I failed him. So Mother's Day is really hard in that sense for going out there. But, you know, we try to be inclusive of him in everything that we do. Christmas cards, that when we send out Christmas cards to my family back home, you know, we put Hazel, AJ, Robert, Matthew.
We do that too. We've signed Lucas's name.
And to me, there's absolutely no reason for not doing that. And I had one family member say, well, don't you think that's a bit odd that people might not understand? It's like, I don't care. You know, that was the last year that they got the Christmas card because obviously they were talking about themselves. You know, everybody else has told us they like that we include Matthew. And, you know, my mom is a big one on including Matthew. She doesn't come out and say it all the time, but like she never forgets his birthday. She's always on top of his birthday. She sends, you know, my thing for Matthew is turtles. So she's on a cruise right now. And I know when she comes back from that cruise, she'll send me something that's a turtle.
Mhm.
She'll find like, for my birthday, she got me a beautiful gift. And then there was a turtle notebook because she knows I journal as well. So, you know, we do a lot of different things around different dates, but we try to include him in everything and celebrate him in everything.
Good. Thank y'all both. Okay, I have another question for you. How do you continue to keep your baby's memory alive, Heidi?
Well, my doll therapy, I'm really active in that. I mean, even if it's not public all the time, he's at home with me and I interact with him. And my husband, interacts with him, which I think is amazing. I don't know any other guy that would say, yeah, not only is that child my child, I'm going to claim him as mine, but to then take it as far as saying your memorial doll is my son. Uh, so he does that. Sorry, I'm just a little emotional. Didn't
It's
realize
okay.
how emotional I would be. So taking it, so one thing we do is we take him to see Santa Claus every year, and we do family photographs every year. And it seems kind of ridiculous to some people, like he's 1 years old again, he's 1 years old again. And we go to different spots where Santa Claus is, and we do Santa photos. I recently got into messing around with AI, and I include, and it's all for Lucas. All the AI is Lucas. All the places I couldn't take him, I can take him in my imagination with the computer, and then I have that photograph. Just trying to get that photograph that I was robbed of. I'm trying to get that moment that I was robbed of all over again. So having the doll really does help. Um, Being around other children does not help me at all. It's still really hurtful. After all this time, it's really hurtful. I never know how I'm going to react to something until I'm reacting to it. And how can you say I'm reacting inappropriately? I don't think there is an appropriate way to act. If you're in your feelings, you're working through your grief. How can that be wrong?
Thank you, Heidi. Hazel, how do you continue to keep your baby's memory alive?
Well, I started Maddie's memory in his memory, and that keeps his name well and truly out there, well and truly alive. Um, and everything I do, as I mentioned, has his name attached to it. It's never this was donated by Hazel. It's always this is donated by Maddie's memory. This is donated by volunteers of Maddie's memory. We're doing this for Maddie's memory. We're doing this on behalf of Maddie's memory. And whenever I do anything, like with the events that are coming up, it's always, my son Matthew was stillborn. So everything is that we do is announced ahead with him in his name. As I say, I don't care if people don't remember my name, but damn it, you're going to remember my son's.
Mhm.
You're going to remember that his name was there and who his name is. So that's a lot of what we do. The burial gowns that we've sent out, the memory packs, the miscarriage packs, the bereavement support packs, everything, has his name attached to it. When we donate and we don't just donate those items. We were homeless for a while after our son died. And so we'll do drives in the sense of like winter clothes, hats, gloves, those sort of things, and take them to the shelters so that those families have hat, gloves, those sort of things available. We will then also do things for there's really, really wonderful domestic violence shelter. And what I haven't mentioned is part of the reason I moved from England over to here is because of a domestic abuse situation. And they have the shelter. It's like a home. There's nothing about it that says shelter. So we'll donate a lot of toys at Christmas to there. And they're not like big toys. They're like stocking stuffers, but there's enough that these kiddies are going to get something. We'll donate like hygiene packs to the family shelter as well that, just has stuff so that you guys can appreciate. You want to feel good about yourself. So it'll have in there the sheet face mask and some really good smelling hand lotion and some good smelling shower gels and stuff. And we'll make sure those go out to different places in his memory. The other things we do is there is a community diaper handout that happens once a month, but every other month or every other quarter, it depends how finances are running. We'll go in there with coloring books and crayons for kids who show up with, or little toys. We did the back to school drive where we, donated backpacks, and it's taking the money that we would have spent on Matthew at those particular periods of time during the year and giving it back, because that helps us with what we're going through, but it also keeps his name alive.
Thank you.
Just this past summer, there was a petting zoo, and the children didn't know you could buy feed the animals. So it was only a few dollars, and I paid for the children to feed the animals. It made me happy. I don't have a child to feed the animals. So let me, for that moment, with the parents' permission, of course, let me show them how to feed these animals. And it made me feel so much better. We've done the hats, we've done the blankets, we did the coloring books for waiting rooms at hospitals and crayons. Every year try to do something, a little different, switch it up and stuff. But that was one of the happiest things I've done, was to see these children just feeding animals. And I said, I don't have a child to do this, but I don't want to be around children all the time. It was in the moment, and oh my gosh, I'll probably remember this moment for the rest of my life. I was so happy.
Aw.
I really felt like Lucas was there at that moment. It was something I could have shared with him at that moment, but he wasn't there.
Yeah. Heidi and Hazel, I want to thank you both for sharing such valuable insights and shedding light on what often goes unsaid. As we begin to wrap up this heartfelt conversation, can you leave our listeners with one key takeaway each that they can either hold on to or use to help someone that they love who may be navigating these waters? And we'll start with Heidi. So, any advice?
Be the ears. Be someone's ears. Let them talk. Let them say their child's name. Don't be afraid to use their child's name. Ask them if you're not sure how they'll feel, if it's okay what you're going to say. I don't want to say the wrong thing. I'm trying to express to you, I care. That's all. I care. And then let the person that's grieving take the narrative and go from there.
Yeah, that's good advice, Heidi, because I remember that I didn't have that one person that would sit there and listen to me. So I bottled everything up for a whole year, before I could actually, I'm sorry, it's emotional, before I actually had somebody to talk to about it. But yeah, that's good advice. And Hazel, I'll ask you the same thing. Um, what do you want to leave our listeners and viewers with one key takeaway that they can either hold on to them for themselves or that they can use to help somebody who's going through what we went through?
In regards for helping themselves, don't let anybody dictate how you grieve. This is your child. Grieve how you want to grieve. If you want to, dance naked in the rain every time there's a storm to honor your child, go ahead and do it. If you want to paint, do it. If you want to express in words, dance, music, silence, whatever, do it. Just do it. That's your child. Your child was an extension of you and would carry traits of your personality. Let that shine through, because you're that child's parent. Whether you're the mom, the dad, you're that child's parent. Honor that child the way you want to, grieve that child the way you want to. And to those people who don't know what to say to someone going through what we do, just say to them, I'm sorry for the loss, and mention that person's baby by name.
Yes.
Tell them, say that name. And if you think it's going to hurt them to say it, oh my God, no, it's not. When you say our babies' names to us, it lights up our hearts because you've remembered their name. You've remembered they're our child. They're not just a stillbirth. They're not just, and I use the clinical term that people use. It wasn't a fetus. You know, it wasn't an unborn baby. This was my son. This was your daughter. This was Heidi's son. Say their names for us. It's like music to our ears.
When you say their name, you're giving them a voice.
Yes. Say their names. And if you don't know what to say, just say their name. Just say, I'm thinking of you, and whatever that baby's name is.
Think
Yeah.
about,
You're giving them a breath.
there you go. This has been a very powerful roundtable discussion filled with hope, education, and connection. If you or someone you know is experiencing pregnancy or infant loss, remember that support is available, whether it's through friends, the community, or professional help. You are not alone. And October 15th, we celebrate Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Day. We say their names every day, but on this particular day, we will light candle 7 p.m. Central, I believe, our time, and around the different states in the world, it's a different time. It comes up to be a different time for everyone, so that the candle is lit for 24 hours to remember our baby's name. And Hazel, you have the bridge that lights up pink and blue, as Heidi is wearing her scarf to remember. Also, pink and blue are the colors. And October 15th is the awareness day. And that's the day where you will go, Hazel, the bridge lights up in Milwaukee, pink and blue, and you'll read out our angels' names on that day. Is that correct?
Yeah, I have at the moment 2,000 baby names that I'm reading out. I'm actually recording them ahead of time. I'm recording them all Monday night because, the bridge is right on Lake Michigan, and the previous years that I've done it, I've gotten so sick afterwards. So I'm recording it ahead of time, but all of these beautiful names are being said and carried on the wind in front of the home bridge in Milwaukee. That will be pink and blue. And look around your area because, if you see a building that's pink and blue that day or any time during this month, or even, just pink or even just blue, they just very well could be a reason behind it. Just have a look. You'll be surprised at what you see.
Right. I'd like to thank you both for coming on and discussing this at the round table and discussing this. And Hazel, if you will, in memory of your son's name, could you please say your son's name?
My son's name is Matthew Aaron Jones.
And Heidi, could you please say your son's name?
My son's name is Lucas.
And my daughter's name is Jolene Isabella Bly. So we dedicate this to all our children and all the little angels that are gone too soon. And to anybody out there, please remember. Sorry. To everybody out there, thank you so much for joining us. And remember that you are not alone if you are going through this. Please reach out to family, friends, and your community, and even professional services. They may help. Hazel has a Facebook page, Maddie's Memories. They will get you in contact with some services if you need any. Heidi also does rescues. Also, this started after Lucas, correct? And we did have an episode on this. So if our viewers and listeners want to go and find out more information about these two beautiful women, please go back and look at those previous interviews. I'd like to thank y'all so much again for joining the table conversation.
Thank you for having us.
Thank
Thank
y'all
you for
so
having me.
much. And October 15th, every day we remember, but October 15th, as Hazel said, we're the loudest. Thank y'all so much. Y'all have a good evening.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, this is Mary Bly with The Unhinged. I'd like to thank all the viewers and the listeners tonight. Thank you so much for joining in on the roundtable conversation of pregnancy and infant loss. It is a subject that nobody ever wants to talk about. So I am so grateful to have Heidi and Hazel that came in to join this conversation, opened up their hearts and their vulnerability to us. We also hope that you join us on October 15th, 7 p.m. your local time, to light a candle for 1 hour to remember all our children gone too soon. If you're not able to light a candle, then please post a candle on your social media for 1 hour. I'd like to welcome everybody to The Unhinged, a Mary Bly show. Until the next conversation. Thank you.
The unhinged where nothing is hidden. We talking so get in.
Listen.
The unhinged where nothing is hidden. We talking so get in.
Listen.
Mary, blah, blah.
Show.
Mary, blah, blah.
Show.
The unhinged where nothing is hidden. We talking so get in.
Listen.
The unhinged where nothing is hidden. We talking so get in.
Listen.
Mary, blah, blah.
Show.
Mary, blah, blah.
Show.
Welcome